Hey, peace.
Okay, hey Brother Kill, how are you?
All right.
I can't really hear you.
Is it the music in the background?
Huh?
Is it the
Can you?
music in the background?
No, I can't hear the music because you just turn it up a little bit.
Okay. I got it at the highest I can go right now. Is it still too
Okay,
low?
okay, that will work. Just let me see, let me see. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I think that's better. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Am I good?
Okay, you're perfect. Okay, so it is Wednesday. It's June 7th, 5 p.m. Eastern. I'm Sam. This is Sam's Divine Lifestyle. And as promised, we have a compelling offering of knowledge tonight by our brother Akil Bey. And Brother Akil, he is a pivotal organizer in the Moorish statehood. So anybody that is interested in assisting in that or forming one yourself, he's going to put his information down below so that you can reach out to him and get all of the pertinent information that you need to get that started. And also, you can also reach out to him to get any of his wellness products, which will include the colloidal silver and the colloidal copper, which I told you guys before that I have used, and it's absolutely amazing. So tonight's presentation, he will be presenting about integrating both worlds of spirituality and international law. Okay, so that is what we're going to be talking about tonight. And so, Brother Akil, if you could just introduce yourself and just let the viewers know who you are. And also, guys, please leave any questions or comments or anything like that that you have down below so Brother Akil can answer them as he goes through his offering of knowledge. And then if there's something as well that you want to talk to him about regarding the Moorish statehood and you don't want to put it in the comments or leave the question, you can feel free to DM him. So he is going to put his information down below. So we want to welcome you, beloved, tonight on Sam's Divine Lifestyle. And, just tell us a little bit about yourself. And then, I'm going to let you cook. I'm going to let you, I'm going to let you get into it.
Right on. Just to start off, I put my information in the chat. I'm not sure if you can pin it or not. But as you stated, my name is Akil Bey. I am the Wazir Al-Rez of Meru State Republic, which is Wazir Al-Rez means the Prime Minister. And Meru State Republic is the Moorish state government claiming the territory of Indiana. I'm also the co-chairman of the WRC, which is the Wazir Regional Council. I won't get too much into that right now, but just a little bit about that. It is the face of the United States of Morocco. Just as we have the United States of America and their president, vice versa. Um, so,
Just really quickly, I'm sorry, Brother Akil. How do you pin it? That's a good
uh,
question. If somebody knows how to pin it on the live, because y'all know I'm the auntie that's just trying to get the tech stuff together, just leave it in the chat for me to see how to pin it. I can actually see the information, and hopefully everyone else can see it in the chat as well. But I'm not really sure. So we're gonna leave it there for now, unless someone puts the information there with that. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I know you did. So yeah, the whole subject matter of this interview, this conversation, um, is really, I want to basically emanate the concept of balancing both worlds. And I want to
Mm-hmm.
start by speaking strictly on spirituality for a while, and
Okay.
then integrating international law. I know I'm speaking for spiritual community specifically right now. So some of us may have studied some of the great quote unquote master teachers out there. Bobby Hennett, Brother Panic, Dr. Jewel Cooper, Dr. Layla Africa, so many others that I don't even know about, in other
Right.
areas. But so many people hold a handful of people, such as Brother Panic, Bobby Hemmings, Dr. Phil Valentine, even Brother Polite, so still hold a seer through the tears, and several other people. Um, we can see that these are the top tier spiritualists in the community.
Mm-hmm.
They give a lot of good information. They're seen as the highest beacons in the spiritual community, so that we can measure a lot off based off of what the information they give. So um, ever since the spiritual community started, right, or I should say came into a new phase, um,
Uh-huh.
you see a lot of people regurgitating Bobby Hennett, Brother Panic. You see all you hear pretty much is people just saying the same thing. Uh, People are looking at the United States of America. Hey, is Babylon going to fall? More questions are arising as far as the quote unquote revelation times. So
That's true.
uh, what people have basically accepted subconsciously is the quote unquote new world order in the negative sense, not knowing that the new world order in the positive sense is in
Mm-hmm.
the hands of the Moors or the Marathas. Um, I'll say this point before I get back to the measurement of teachers. Um, this was we talked yesterday. Phoenicians, right?
Right.
Uh, if we say there's nothing new under the sun, right? Who are the colonizers today? Who's running things today? Well, we got the United States of America, right? We got to look at these things as not only lawful political things. This is energy. These are spirits. This is all the same thing. So when we read these things like the Bible and read certain concepts, we have to take the unwavering concept in the aspect which is law. As I stated, all these people created the alphabet. They always had the money. All this is nothing but what we call the United States of America today. And other nations is basically government. So it's basically cold word. They basically water down the European books and they describe it. They say, hey, these people created this literature. This is governmental stuff. Who's writing the lyric, right? It's just not said like that in today's time. It's watered down aspect. So we all have a spirit or a demon. It's the same thing, no matter what, which is this quote unquote colonization. I'm going to call it that colonized spirit. So all of us on this land are colonized people, in which the unwavering principle is the
Brother
commonality.
Akil,
Yeah,
Brother Akil, I'm sorry to interrupt again, but someone is saying it is a little bit hard to hear. It's a little low and a little. Do you have
okay.
headset or headphones?
Yeah, I'll take the headset out right quick.
Okay.
Okay, how about that? Can
Is
you hear
that
me now?
is that a little bit better for the viewers?
It got louder on my end, I'll tell you that.
Okay. Yeah. She said it's better.
Okay, good deal.
Okay, so just rewind it just a little bit, just because it was a little bit difficult to hear. So, um, we were kind of starting with the fact that you know, spirituality is the experience that brings the experiencer into contact with the divine. And we know that
Hmm.
spirituality is the highest form of existence, right? And so one of the things that you were talking about in your video is that the physical world mimics the spiritual world. And we know that we do live in this physical realm, this third dimension, which appears to be or seems to be primary dominant, which we do know that's an illusion. And so I was very interested in the fact that you wanted to integrate or show how to balance spirituality with international law. Um, you know, in giving us that view that they are one and the same. Um, and so that's kind of what compelled me to say, okay, yes, you know, please come on and give us this breakdown and give us this knowledge. So I'll just give the viewers that overall view um, of what prompted me. And this is going to be the first of like many interviews because I think it's always important to bring information, especially on this platform, which is about lifestyle. You know, so me being a curator or someone that wants to help influence the style of living, whether it's with mindset, whether it's with attitude, whether it's with habits, economics, food, travel, and education. So this was really important for me. And so hopefully everyone can hear us better now. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to have you just jump in again.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll backtrack just a little bit.
Okay.
Because I think Brother Panic and Bobby Hemmett, not to keep on bringing those two names up, but a lot of people know them in the spiritual community, and we can see them as measurements. Now, the new world order, this new energy, there's nobody speaking on it in a practical manner. You know, everybody's trying to say, hey, you need these crystals, or you need the altar, or just concentrating on your dreams, in which that's all good. You know, that's good for personal revelations. But the thing is that, you know, even the monks, you know, some of the Buddhists who are some of the most spiritual people turning in the light, or even some of the people who have access to, telekinesis, let's just say, all the crazy stories we heard, those people, or let's just use the monks, for example, they were turning themselves literally into light, their physical body into light. And them too still got ransacked because of not balancing the spiritual and the physical. And so basically, when it comes to us, the most practical way to, when we read on the priesthood and the priestesses and all these ancient orders and mystical orders, and, all those people, you see that those people are always connected to government in some way, form, or fashion. They might not have been the actual government, but they have been connected to government because that was the practical side of things. Mm-hmm. So we must deal with the root chakra of our thinking, basically. This is a new energy that's being emanated on Earth that nobody in Moorish statehood or international law is speaking of. Literally, nobody, but a few handfuls.
And why is that? Why do you think that is?
Well, if a Moor doesn't know, nobody knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's only because Moors that know spirituality and law are basically balancing both worlds, the higher and the lower selves. While most people just study spirituality, they're Christians, they say skip the government, or whatever, they say. Really, the two worlds, the world that's being ushered in. As a matter of fact, let me speak on this right quick before I can say that. So I want to speak on these measurements again. Brother Panic and Bobby Hemmett. First it was Bobby Hemmett, right? Bobby Hemmett came around saying, hey, the Moors, they got some knowledge. He said, don't mess with them in that paperwork, right? Because in that time and era, he was.
Bobby said that?
Yeah, Bobby said that. And what you can't blame
it. He has just so much content that's out there circulating. I probably didn't get to that part, but I love me some Bobby Hemmett.
Right. Yeah, I say
Yeah.
to the brother.
Yes.
And at that time, you can't blame him because the one way, the one correct way for us to exercise this energy practically was not
Mm-hmm.
established yet. It was not being exercised at all by nobody on this land.
Right.
So that energy was not here. Or it was here, it just wasn't grounded. I should say nobody was exercising. So, you know, because all you see was Morris getting locked up, trying to do these different processes. So why would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's just dumb to just try to exercise just because your belief, your spirituality is saying something, but, you know, your 3D is not aligning in that sense for you to exercise that properly. And so therefore you got a group of people that's basically shunning the whole concept of being a Moor, the whole perspective of Moor.
Okay.
So you can't blame them at that time. So then, you know, Brother Panic came around, which was a student of Bobby Hemming.
Mm-hmm.
And the Moors, you see, they start to come around to more logical ways to exercise in commerce, but still wasn't it. And now, basically, it's a new energy. It's the energy that if you have read the Bible and for the Christians out there or people who may know the Bible, when they say God is going to give you a covenant and there, you know, there will be no more cries, basically, paraphrasing. This covenant, if we read the Bible, we can read it on many different levels. It's multi-layered. But the one unwavering aspect that we have yet to look at is the lawful aspect. When you see covenant, what is God saying? He's talking about treaties. You can literally go to Google right now. What is the meaning of a covenant in international law or in law? Treaties. So this is basically just code of how to run things on many different levels once we read it all the way through. And the only person that can exercise treaties is a state. The state government is seen as a person. Now, what person have people been waiting on? Some of us been waiting on Jesus. Some of us waiting on Muhammad. Some of us waiting on Krishna, right? Jesus to take the wheel and all that, right? That's what the state is, right? Because heaven is a state of mind, they say, right? Well, and that's what the Moors been saying. What's your state? Oh, my state is Allah. My state is Islam. My state, well, that's partially right. But I'm being practical with you. I'm saying, what is your government? The state is also means government. You see, so it's basically consciousness hiding itself from itself. Because when we read the definitions right there, we've been reading it. We just didn't see it. So now that the more see it, you know, in our exercise in government, in a practical manner, in the way that it's supposed to be exercised, that's basically what I'm here to. This whole thing is about. But I got to speak to the spiritual community and ground everybody. You know, so to sum up, not even to sum up, to sum up that phrase of Bobby Hemming and Brother Panic, you know, those measurements. I will say that we got to look at those teachers, use them as measurements, and see that even Brother Panic has come around to the concept of Moors. I even heard him in a video. He said, you know, all this stuff you can basically forget about. You know, Brother Panic. You know, he's that Bindu point in the circle of chaos, right? Trying to give people direction. He's the higher aspect of the grounded energy that's here, and that's why the energy is now grounded now. So he was pretty much the forerunner or the harvester of the energy that's here now, as well as the initiator in many other degrees, because we also got to think about it like this. Well, I'm gonna just say that in a video. I'm gonna say that in a 3-4 hour video. I'm gonna make that.
Okay, because you are going to put out some of your own additional content on this topic as well. So we're happy to have you tonight, honey. Just breaking it down for us, and we're taking it all in. And don't forget, guys, you can put your questions, ask your questions, anything that that you want Brother Akil to elaborate on, or you might have a question about something specific, just make sure you put that down in the chat as well.
Yeah. So just to wrap up that point before I go into the next wave, we can use all these teachers. There's nobody new saying anything. Everybody's saying the same thing, you know. And that should be a sign of a measurement, in which that only the Moors that know international law, statehood can only see this pinnacle. For those familiar with Noble Dry Leaf Coast, the Moors this won't get it in the third and fourth generations are going to be the Moors on the pinnacle, be able to climb that ladder, while everybody else is thinking, you know, they're about to be some type of concubine or some type of, I don't know, just get, you know, caught up, ran, you know, police gonna run in their house, take the whole family, whatever. Some people think like that, which that's the reality they'll attract. But until basically decolonization happens, only then will every need will bow, every tongue will confess, and basically everybody will realize what's going on. But to kind of go into another phase of things is when we're talking about balancing both worlds, right? I spoke on Brother Panic, some of the teachers, but let's get personal right quick, because that's pointing the finger, right?
Okay.
Getting personal is really where it's at, because everybody talk about facing the shadow, everybody trying to have an answer for something, right? In which I feel it. Everybody trying to get their confidence in. That's a good thing. The thing is, we must look at the new energy that's right in front of our face, the facts, the irrefutable facts. I would say this. One basic, it's not even a new fact, but one fact that's new to everybody else's, a lot of people's realization, is that it's nothing that we've been new. It's just information we've been hiding ourselves from. What is the 13 colonies? 13 colonies are colonists, right? Colonists. Well, what did they change their name to? United States of America. So any single aspect of you calling yourself American is the demon working itself, causing you to work yourself against your own consciousness. Because American was started by what? The people that came from Europe, the colonizers. All they did was change their name. So American Indian, North American, anything American is, you got to use that as energy. Now, when you look at the word, it had us caught up, right? A chakra blockage, right? So energy is information, info energy, right? It's the same thing. So we got to look at these facts and say, okay, well, if America started in the late 1700s, 1791, we say 1787, but they changed their name to the United States of America in 1791. But if they weren't a thing until 1791 or 1787, what was this landmass called before? Well,
before that, right?
Right. So let's look at the energy before. And a lot of people want to take it back to their tribes and, you know, this energy and just get space cadet. But getting the higher self is cool, but you gotta know yourself. Let's just stick with the reason and facts, irrefutable evidence. Right? So if you look at where the United States of America started, we got to look at the exact contracts on where they started, right? The exact points in which that's the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, right? So that's the exact point in which they officially became the United States of America. So what was the deal there? What was the conversation like there? Well, there was a Moroccan government. So there was a treaty between Moroccan and a treaty between Americans, or a treaty between the Sultan of Morocco, Moroccan government, but he was just the head of the Moroccan, and the Americans, right? Some of us read books talking about, you know, the story, the history between the Kingdom of Morocco and America, you know, the wars that happened between the Barbary states, all of that. But the simple fact, the narrow, simple fact of the matter is the irrefutable fact no matter what anybody else is saying, is what is these words on this paper say, right? This is Moroccans in America. A lot of us been saying, trying to balance both worlds, but we've been blinding ourselves saying Moorish America. And I'm both. You know, I'm on both teams. I'm on both sides of the contract, right? I was on George Washington side and the Southern Moroccan. Can't be that, right? So the thing of the matter is that now that this understanding is coming clear, it's a measurement of energy, also a measurement of your own personal understanding. Because now this gets down to, okay, so if everybody's spirit is to decolonize, what you gonna do about it, right? Where you gonna come from, right? And this is where it comes down to the personal, the natal charts, right? Because not everybody is gonna be official in the government. It's just not reality. Not everybody's gonna be a king or a queen. Not everybody's gonna be this and this and that. It's not reality, right? The balance of power. So depending on each other, you know, the ego self, you know, losing yourself and gaining yourself. So really, it's all coming back to self at the end of the day, right? You get presented with the facts. Everybody on this land, everybody on this call, everybody watching this video probably thinks they're American if they know that they're not from another nationality. So the question of the matter is that your actual, whoever's watching this video, is that your actual shadow work homework question is that if you believe you're American, and the United States or the 13 colonies change their name to America, colonizers, that means you're calling yourself a colonizer. It's shadow work, you have to punch it, no matter how hard the question is, right? So this is just how humble can you make yourself, right? So let's just follow the line of succession that we have. But before I continue to go beat that dead horse, I want to kind of dabble in another frequency. I'm gonna get back to that. You know, that's the basic anchor. You know, so if you or anybody else have any questions right now, I definitely encourage anybody to type it in the chat. Or if you have any asks now before I go in on anything else.
Do you guys have any questions?
I'll if I see anything in the chat, I'll pause at that. But I'll go ahead and rock the boat with another wave.
Okay, so I mean, I would ask, because part of one of the things that I was explaining to the viewers is that if they were interested in assisting with a more statehood or, you know, forming one themselves, that they could reach out to you about that. And since you were kind of touching on more statehood, could you just tell us a little bit about, you know, the process or what it would entail to be able to establish that?
Yeah, and I see a question is at the bottom, and not only what you said, but this question kind of just made a light pop up in my head.
Okay.
The shadow work concept. A lot of people gravitate to that those words, that term, that phrase. Couldn't think of it. But I think that this would be a necessary video to act as a therapeutic session for strictly shadow work and how to ease into exactly what you said, understanding what must be done. That can be very time consuming itself. I can make a whole 9-hour video on that. But the whole shadow, well, first I'm gonna speak on what you said, and I'm gonna get to these questions that the person is right. But you can contact me at Akil Zafan Bey. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you're interested, that's my personal information. I also have a YouTube channel called Spirit Alchemy channel. As far as the official aspect, in which I encourage more people to reach out to on a serious note, because I don't really take my personal chance, my personal video, YouTube channel. I don't really engage in that anymore. But if you wish to learn how to establish a state, or if you're in the Indiana, quote unquote, Indiana territory or the Maroon state, in which to assist, feel free to reach out to me at personal, or you can reach out to me at Wazir, WAZIRMSR@gmail.com. Also, you can follow the state page on Instagram, which is Maroon State Republic.
Okay, I love that. So when you say that Indiana territory, is it the surrounding states as well, or what specific region? Because I'm in Michigan.
You're where?
I'm in Michigan.
Oh yeah, there's a more state from Michigan and Penn.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you more information about them.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as the state, it'll be the whole state itself. You know, we're claiming the whole entire state of quote unquote Indiana, because we know that it's being ran by corporations and it's not the actual government. So America's up for sale, right? Because we weren't in our places, they weren't in their places. When it comes to these, let me get these questions because I was about to merge off. Because I also get more into learning how to establish a state. But I see a question that says, what did you say the shadow work homework was? Also, can you tell us about the lien Noble Drew Ali put on the corporation of the United States, and what does it imply? Okay, those are two great questions. Good questions. As far as the shadow work aspect, is very broad. Again, these are terms that we can just look at and understand different parts of ourselves. So for those who might not understand what shadow work is, it's just basically anything that you fear, that you refuse to acknowledge in your day-to-day life, even if you are not aware. And when you become aware of it, might come as a shock. You might, something might be like this. You might turn your head, try to engage another conversation. This is all the energy, your consciousness expressing itself as far as what you're capable to do in that moment. So the energy, the shadow work aspect of what everybody needs to the common denominator, the shadow work aspect for everybody, because it's here now. There's no reason to say, hey, you got to do this process, you got to do this process. Nah, the common denominator is here now. And the common denominator for the shadow work is that what is the 13 colonies, right? The 13 colonies of the colonizers, right? What did they change their name to? The United States of America, right? So again, we have to answer so many questions that if we call ourselves Americans, we change our name to, from the 13 colonies or the Continental Congress, or people from different continents who form a Congress on this landmass, because it's all saying the same thing. They're not from this land, right? 13 colonies from Europe came here, right? Established America, United States of America. So these are things that's the one thing that we must come to terms with, as far as where is your energy as far as detaching it or harmonizing with that concept. Are you one of the people who say, hey, I want to call myself American Indian? And it was just tribes that ran this, tribes in the government, in which that if you want to break that down, again, we have to get back to the treaty. How did things get into, first of all, how did things get into the hand of a person or people that's not even on this landmass in Africa? It's another story. Matter of fact, I'm gonna speak on that too right quick. So, and I'm gonna get back into the shadow.
Okay.
So a lot of people say, Moors came from Spain. If you Google, the first thing you're gonna Google about Moors, they came from Spain. That's what it's gonna tell you, right? Now, also, again, where did the 13 colonies come from? Europe, right? Same place where Spain is, right? Europe, right? So these Moors came from Europe, is what Google is saying. Everybody's saying, right? That's the first thing you look up. See Moor, Google, right? Europe, Spain. So the thing is that, again, not only do you have the 13 colonies aspect and clarifying that, but we have to say, okay, the Moors, who's controlling this narrative? Because everything seems to be coming from Europe. And if they want us to believe that Moors come from Europe and not this landmass, then how come the Treaty of Peace and Friendship says that the United States of America came to this landmass and established an agreement with the Sultan of Morocco? So that means that the United States of America came to this landmass, had 50-year terms. It says you have 50 years nonetheless to do X, Y, Z, right? If you just look at the treaty, it has instructions and agreements. You can simply see the dialogue, right? So if the Sultan of Morocco made a deal with the 13 colonies, aka United States of America, just you got to change up the narrative, change up the language in your head, right? Who is America? 13 colonies. Let's say colonies, the 13 colonies, to make it make sense, okay? Because just calling yourself American without understanding a lot of stuff is going to mess up a lot of measurement. So again, if we say the Moors from Spain, who's writing this narrative? If we say, well, this landmass looks like it was called Morocco, if it definitely wasn't called the United States of America, if they made a treaty with the Sultan of Morocco to do commerce on this landmass for at least 50 years, right? That's the basic language of the treaty said, right? You can't deny it. So the thing is that if the Moors came from Spain, then how did this land become Morocco in the treaty in 1787? How did that happen? If this landmass is not America, if America started in 1791, what was it the name before? If George Washington from Europe started Spain, started America, and he's from Europe, some of us say John Hanson, the first black president, is actually the president of the United States of America. His family was from Europe. Sweden, they were all from Europe. 13 colonies, it don't matter the skin color, they were all from Europe. So if the Moors came from Spain, how did this landmass become known as Morocco in an actual treaty that's still active today? How do we know it's still active? Look at the Kingdom of Morocco and the Moroccan Empire and the history of it, and which is another thing. And I'm not really going to get too much into that because that's kind of steering away from shadow work and the topic at hand. But I just wanted to touch base on that concept of the Moors strictly being from Spain, because that's an opinion. What does the law, the treaty say? The treaty says that was a Morocco. The treaty says this is Morocco. And the United States of America made a treaty, made an agreement with the Sultan of Morocco. So where is Morocco? Where is the United States of America? The United States of America is on this land that's good. And they said they can do government on the Sultan of Morocco's landmass. Well, guess what happened? The Moroccan government failed. Colonization continued to happen. And everybody thinks this landmass is Morocco, and ignorance of the laws everywhere, and nobody knows what's going on. So what's the first thing to do? The first thing to do is to say, hey, look at the United Nations. Why the United Nations? Because the United Nations was created to do one thing, and one thing only: decolonize. How do we know that? They've already decolonized 80 countries. No other international organization has done that, period. BRICS, NATO, nobody. Nobody. I'm going to say it again. United Nations has decolonized 80 countries. Okay, so what does that mean for us? That means when we say 13 colonies, okay, when we say that we know they just changed their name to United States of America, right? Remember Dred Scott case and all these hints that was given to us, taxation without representation, all these civil rights and all these ways that we was trying to do. But guess what? One thing we didn't do. Look up the instructions on how to establish an actual government as a colonized people. because it's been happening. It's been happening. Anybody that can hear me doing this cannot refute one basic fact. I'm sticking with the basic, simple facts. I'm not going too far. I'm gonna repeat the basic, simple facts. Right? Everybody knows 13 colonies of colonizers. Right? So, and just take that concept further with the basic facts. But going into using out the shadow work question, what you want to do is come to terms with who you are, what you consider yourself as, what you identify yourself as. Some of us can say, hey, I'm Moorish American, right? I'm American. I'm an Indian. If you're an Indian, this is not India. So you can't use that terminology trying to establish a state, right? So you can't use American as a state because that's already established as a state around the world. But guess what? The rest of the world don't know a lot of this information. A lot of people in the United Nations do. How do we know that? Because France took the United States of America to court in 1954 and said exactly what I'm saying. But guess what happened? Nobody said nothing. But guess what they said in the case? They said only the people in that landmass, the colonized people, can do something about it. Nobody else. So guess who's on? Guess who's on? You who's watching this video? Yeah, you. Are you going to share this information or not? You might not be the person to be the official to establish a state, but you may know somebody who is. You might want to run a business. Well, guess what? You want to have your business and this whole digital way and all this. Pass the information to the person who see fit, so you can eventually do that. All this is Brother Panic made a video on hood movies, right? And how basically a lot Juice, for example, only one person in Juice was real. All the other characters are just different representations of yourself, right? All these other guys and goddesses are just different representations, different attributes of your mind. So in this aspect, right, my question as far as what are you going to do? Everybody else that you see, right, if we're all one, they're just different aspects of yourself. You just got to pass the ball, right? Pass the information, the proper information, to a different part of yourself, i.e. somebody else. They can do something with it, so you can put yourself into the proper standpoint that you see fit. That's how everybody come together and basically come to a common denominator, saying the same thing without saying the same thing. So easing into the next question, where the lien and Noble Dry Lead put in the corporation of the United States and what it implies. The lien, we can look at it basically as a reservation, all right, like Indian reservation, right? The whole concept of Indians. Remember, this stuff is energy, right? A lot of us thought that we were Indian, still do. American Indian, or this tribe, or this the true tribe. Remember, all this stuff is energy, right? Different measurements. So if Indians have a reservation, they can get land, they can get so many things, what seems to be what we should have been doing, right? Remember, this is just energy. This is just energy harvest and stuff, trying to find new levels, new phases, climbing up the ladder, right? Going from 1 to 10. Now that we're at 10, right, we can see that the Indian aspect of what we thought we had to do was like number 8 and number 9, right? It was close, right? Some of us saying, hey, the Indians got this. The United Nations recognize them, but they don't know the exact clarification on how an Indian can't do what Moors are doing. Why? Because if an Indian said, I'm an Indian, they're going to say that their state, this landmass is Indian. You got to prove that in law. This state is not Indian, right? You can't be stealing identifications, right? People in the Kingdom of Morocco think we're stealing identifications, but that's another thing. So back to the lien, though, you can look at it as a reservation that basically profit, Noble Dry Lead, a profit, if you know are familiar with the Moroccan government, profit is an actual seat of office as far as the old way of government. So as far as Noble Dry Lead going to the Geneva Convention, he did this on behalf behalf of Abdul Aziz, which is another story. But it wasn't a link, put it like that. Noble Drew Ali was a Moorish subject and colonized just like everybody else. He did not have a state government. He was not. He was also stateless, but he knew what was to come, which third and fourth generation to pick up. Brought you everything yet to have not been told. So all this is not just facts and just little information, but you got to look at it as energy. So just to answer that question, the lien was never a lien because only states can enforce treaties and do certain things. Jesse had certain abilities to do certain things as a corporation, right? Because when you establish yourself as a corporation, fighting against a corporation, you can do a lot of things, right? But you still can't claim the land using a treaty, etc. So it's a lot of halfway wins, basically. I also see another question.
Yes, we have a lot of questions in the chat.
Yeah, that's good.
That's really good.
Did the commerce have to do with selling/using human trafficking? Yes, it did. And I also read the next question before I answer that one. I know a lot of people steer away from Moors due to the involvement of the slave trade. Yes. As far as commerce, right? A lot of us in the world just look at commerce. I want to buy shares. I want to buy a car. Right? But the colonizers knew that they had to trick the people on another level. It wasn't necessarily the colonizers; it was our own people that helped the colonizers. Without our own people, the colonizers would have never been able to do it. So we really got to point the finger at ourselves back at the end of the day, and that's why I speak on Moorish Americans so hard, because not only was I once there too, consider myself a quote-unquote Moorish American, so I can speak on that, but it's our own people. We got to point ourselves at it's always the inner circle. It's never going to be the out group, the white man, all this types of stuff. It's never going to be your homeboy's neck. It's you, right? So that's why you see me speaking a lot on Moorish Americans, because genocide is actually coming from our own, So, and the people who are willing to deal with shadow work and say, okay, I see what's going on. And those are the people that's called. This is literally the last trumpet, the last call. There is nothing higher than international law. There's nothing higher than spirituality. When international law is the highest physical concept on earth that we have, to say this is the highest system of law, right? We say, hey, what is the 164th missing piece of Thoth's eye? Law, right? That's the missing thing. We can talk about all this other stuff all day. We can have 5 million more marches. We can have 5 million more altars. We can have 20,000 brother panics and Bobby Hemmings. But until we deal with the unwavering principles and unwavering facts, you ain't gonna go through that bending point. And this is just a representation of how you deal with yourself on many, many levels of spirituality. So, nationality, statehood, this is literally, when you say Moors taught the whole world, think about this, nothing new is under the sun. This is like an atom bomb starting a new world. This is the whole world being ushered in. This is it. There's nothing else that you will be able to measure out once you understand the concept of Moors and statehood. Because the Moors are going to teach the world again. Because as the question on the table is commerce and human trafficking thing, that's what the whole world is dealing with. Right? People in the United Nations know this as well. Not just this landmass. We got to teach the whole world. We got to save the whole world. Jesus from the wheels, come with the wheels, comes from this landmass. This landmass is always the most ancient of ancient, right? Ancient Egypt and all that. Right? The starting point for everything. Right? So the freak suites come from this landmass always. in which we deal with international law. Again, we can look at all the brother independent panics and Bobby Hemmings and whatever spiritual teachers you want to. The unwavering principle that I bet you that they won't speak on or may not know is international law, in which governments run everything. You want to control the pyramids, the quantum pyramids, governments. You want to get down in the Grand Canyon where they don't let you, governments. You want to get behind the ice wall, governments. You see?
Yes, that ice wall, child. We've been researching and studying that stuff. And just the other day, there was we were talking about Dr. Phil. That was one of the things that he was talking about, where he was reconciling his previous thoughts from the 80s, saying that he wasn't interested in understanding any of that information or knowledge. And he has come to the awareness that that's something that he should have paid attention to a long time ago. So a lot of the master teachers are now just like reconciling certain areas and saying like, we didn't spend much time in these particular areas, but they're vitally important and need to be brought to the forefront. So they're even correcting themselves on certain levels.
Mm-hmm. And that's very important because we know how hard it is just to change our own mind.
Right.
It's only going to be a handful to get it. Let alone do something.
Yeah.
So as far as teachers, the elders, much love and respect to them for sure. But one thing we got to do is learn how to recognize the new ways of measurement, the new age. Just as when we get older, we're going to have to recognize. We always got to be that master student. So, there's a lot of people that think that their way is the way. In which there's always just this one. It's always in front of your face. And this one thing is always very simple. And that one thing for us in our salvation on earth is state, which means God. And some people even say, hey, not the Rothschilds, they own the United States. There's this and that United States and United Nations. I mean, in which again, there's a lot of good and bad all over the world, not just on this land, man. It's all over the world. Yeah. So we have to teach the entire world, and we have to again point to ourselves and focus on ourselves first and learn what we got to do first. I don't care what the colonizers do. Yes, I know they slapped us in the face yesterday in this room. I understand. But what we can do now is say, hey, I have the ability to be humble enough to point the finger at myself, and I have the power to say that this humble space has cleaned a slate for me enough to be as simple to bring one atom. That's all I need is one atom to create a world. Simple enough. Right? So we can start simple. So, don't overwhelm yourself trying to understand so many concepts, read so many books, who the ancients were, and trying to understand Kabbalah, even with the Kabbalah. International law is, and as a matter of fact, let me talk about this commerce questions. I will talk about that. And then I'll talk about international law, spiritual concepts that more so.
Right, and then not to interrupt, but earlier on you were talking about how there were a lot of mystic priests and priests who were a part of the government, in different spaces, in time. So I guess my question is, is that taking place now, but it's more clandestine? And kind of just want to know a little bit about that as well too, if you don't mind just adding that part in.
I'm so glad I'm glad you said that. Matter of fact, I'm gonna speak on that first, and then I'm gonna speak on more of that commerce aspect, and then the international law. I'm actually gonna write that down so I don't forget that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big thing, and I really want to understand, because I feel like it's hidden. I feel like it's hidden. You hear or you see little things about corporations, or the government having certain people on their payroll that deal with mysticism, but it's not like full public knowledge. And so,
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. So as far as the priesthood, the priestess, the ancient orders and all of
yeah,
that, and how they may have been the government and been a part of the government, basically we can look at it like this. Remember, there's nothing new under the sun, right? So we look at the whole world today and see that there's nothing but patriarchal government.
right,
There's no, if we read some of the books, right, we see a lot of books, there was a lot of women priesthoods, priestesses, a lot of women in the Indian books that say there was the women, the elderly women who chose who the chiefs were, et cetera, et cetera. And we see the power of the woman, or feminine energy itself. Everybody has feminine energy, but more get down to more predominant, more defined, more what's the word I'm looking for? Concentrated is the woman.
yeah,
So we basically see that these ancient orders, this new age energy, this new world order, this atom energy, right? Feminine energy, we got to start with the most primal of the primal, in which we have to deal with feminine energy first, and that's what more states have to do. In which basically, what I mean by that, all the more states established thus far, we know all the more states established thus far, as far as the Lil Aziz or the legislative branch, aka the unwavering principle, the laws, all women. There can be no men. So when we talk about any ancient orders and all this type of stuff, and start simple, organizing these things from a governmental aspect, because we don't want to come off just space cadet. Hey, let's speak on astrology for 3 weeks, and then 2 years later we're gonna talk about our government. Nah, like look, my moon is Capricorn. I want the most practical. I don't want limit, but I also have the sun in Pisces, so I understand the spiritual side. A lot of times I don't have a medium. That's kind of like the Jesus and Satan and get behind me type of thing. So literally my chart is this basically. So it's like this. So basically, that's why I'm sharing this energy, because I'm basically the archetype for that. So help people see what's going on. So when it comes to these mystical orders and priesthoods and priestesses and all that type of stuff, we got to start simple in all areas. Be whole about it. You got to start with the patriarch, or the matriarch side of the government, and the patriarch. What's the matriarch side? Again, it's the legislative. The government is nothing without laws, right? Without laws, you're not even government. Nobody is just dead bodies.
right.
And without enforcing these laws on the patriarchal side, right? And we can even get down to household, uplifting the woman, or even Noble Drali when he had the woman coming out the water onto the rock, or Morocco, right? Because it's the men that basically have to dig down into the feminine aspect of energy itself, not just the women, ourselves, right? Starting with the most subtle aspects, which is what I'm saying now, the therapeutic side of spirit, shadow work. For some people don't understand international law, it might come off as too strict, too discern, right? Too heavy. So a lot more people are going to be just business owners. You're not going to be running the government, right? Because look at today, it's not, not everybody's official. So we just got to basically not reinvent the wheel. The colonizer has mimicked us, right? We mimic Allah, God, Krishna, whatever you want to say. We mimic that, and then they mimic us. When our time is up, and then when their time is up, it's time to mimic them, because now we lost who we are. So basically, everything literally.
That's a hell of a cycle.
It's everything. everything in our image. Ain't that what the Elohim said? It's
Mm-hmm.
just that same energy unfolding time after time after time. It's being refined, right?
Right.
Some phases it was falling, but now we on the uprise, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not going to be any more fall. So, uh, 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 as far as again, the mystical orders, as I conclude with that concept, it's really the upliftment of women, which is the upliftment of feminine energy, which is the upliftment of gender equality. Because when we look at gender equality, we're talking about both genders, right? So we see how it's intertwined, right? It's just saying the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or it's just looking at the number 1 and then seeing the number 1 has 0.9, 0.8, so you see what it's getting more intricate and how we got to deal with it. But
Right.
so this is all a synonymous frequency when we say that the atom, the woman, feminine energy, mystical orders, it's literally saying the exact same thing, and that's how we got to look at it. So the balance of masculine and feminine is in government as far as more states. You see that the rest of the world, nobody has a government, specifically a legislative branch of all women. That's the problem. That's some of the basic problems of Earth itself. Women and children have, they don't get hurt. It's just words on paper. Okay, well, who's going to change that? More, specifically who? More is women, right?
Okay.
Because we don't let the women talk that talk. We're going to let the men talk that talk as far as gender equality. Because who else is going to talk about these problems but the actual people themselves, but the children themselves, right?
Yeah.
But the elderly, for those adults themselves, right? But the Americans themselves, like we got to take literally the shadow work. We can't point the finger and say whatever caused you pain did that for a reason, to bring you to a fine point so you know how to wash your hands. So the colonizer came not to the colonizer is just the quote unquote the white people, and even though they're just not white people. They're just an emanation of your ego, physical representation of ego. That's what Mother Panic Bobby Hemmings said. A lot of us caught on to that energy measurement. Okay, let's take it further, right? Let's add up what Noble Drali said, because he's seen as a measurement in a high tier, right? And spiritual being, right? So we see that Noble Drali said that treat the European good, love, respect. I'm paraphrasing, but basically treat them as you would treat yourself. Right? I don't care what they do to you. I don't care what they think of you. This is about human rights. They're humans, right? This even comes down to ourselves. But this comes down to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between two governments, Moroccans and Americans. Human rights deserve to be established on both ends, right? So they took sworn oaths to be corporations, but that's not our problem. We're telling them what the problem is and what our problem is, right? We're going to align them for them. The people who are fed up, that's not in government, I'm done with this. I'm cool. I'm just married to government, man. All that. Whether they saying white or black, specifically the white people, let's just say the red truck drivers, right?
Right.
Whoever. If you basically realize that you're not Moroccan, right? But you are American based on your heritage, etc. They have human rights too, and it's up to us to basically help them reestablish America. Because guess what? America got to pay taxes to who? The Moroccan state. So who's going to pay taxes? Well, nobody took oaths to the sworn America. So basically, the people that's going to establish America is going to get rid of the United States Corporation, right? And they're going to correct that energy in that aspect and basically work with us as the sovereigns of this landmass, saying that, hey, if y'all continue to wish to work on this landmass, they have nowhere to go. The United States has nowhere to go. Remember, British subjects, they cut that. They're no longer British subjects.
Right.
So for them to go back and say we're British subjects or Europeans, well, you're recognized as Americans on paper. So you don't get what's right on that land, man.
There's no doubling back here.
You see, so it's a chess match that we already won. We just got to step into our seats. A lot of us see the gods and goddesses on these ancient walls, try to do what they do, right? Well, this is it. This is it. You have to step in your place, your throne, your seat of office, even if it's not a seat of office, pass to that person and step into that business so that we can run the empire, right, and teach the world, because we're going to need educators. We're going to need, nabis, which is spiritual advisors and educators. That's an actual seat of office in the government. So those people are going to be teaching basically everybody else is saying on YouTube anything about spirituality is the nabi, right? It's going to be the head of the spiritual community, period. So basically people that's real prominent in the spiritual community and still wish to become a part of the state government assist, there you go. You just got to be serious about it.
Right.
Again, not everybody's going to take that position. So it's only going to be a handful as far as that. So it's not yet.
But the more we have these powerful builds like this, the more, planting seeds, and actually they'll start to resonate, and people will start to rise up, like you said, and take their rightful position. So it's just about having these open forum, these discussions, to whereas people can be aware.
Yeah, and I will say, as far as even right now, the more states are so far ahead that we're really doing the most. We really, as Brother Abdul would say, who is the chairman of the WRC, which is the face of the United States of Morocco right now. So he'd be like Joe Biden right now. But as far as just as you said, the more states are in many areas so far ahead that I want to say there are 2 more states that have Nabi. I think AMPAG, who is the more state we're claiming in Georgia, they have a Nabi. And there's a lot more other things that we really need to do before we even have a Nabi. Some of us just came in and just got to do that. I will say that just as you said, exercising, maturing the energy, grounding the energy, would definitely cause people to act on the information in any type of fashion. Some people say, hey, it don't cost nothing to retweet, well, let's take it a step further, because again, this is shadow work. If a simple retweet is all you care about your shadow work, I mean, that's all you care about your shadow work, right? That's all you care about being decolonized, right? You got locked up today. They came to steal your children today. I guess a retweet is all you thought was necessary, right?
Right.
So I'm only saying that to put more weight on the shadow work. Because again, I'm Capricorn Moon. I won't smoke. I won't smoke myself. I don't want to run nothing. If I feel like I can't face a thought and I don't want to use a certain terminology, I'm gonna keep it nice and clean. But I just devalue myself, demoralize myself, despiritualize, whatever you want to say, take away my own frequency, my own power as a spiritual support, whatever I would call myself. We gotta be practical in our own. Damn, wow. I don't know what's going on right now, but it's an energy coming in that's making me get emotional. I don't know why. But I don't know why. But
you're in a safe space.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to analyze myself. But we gotta basically ground ourselves in the best way we can. It starts with our natal charts. So you got to know yourself. Again, you might not be official, but look at your natal chart and see how you're supposed to share this information, right?
Right.
That's the best way, I can answer that for you, is to find out how you can answer your own questions. Nah, for real, thank you. Thank you. Maybe I should.
Yes. Just take your time.
And thank you for that. Thank you. I like how you redirected that. Thank you. So to the commerce and international law, that's a good segue. That was beautiful. As far as the commerce is concerned, that basically was the colonizers' aspect. They have to say, well, they got good sense, they can read. We got to get them to, we got to cause a distraction. That's what wars, anytime that we got a glimpse of what we supposed to do, distraction, war, something. They can forget,
Yeah.
So all they got is distractions. They don't have anything real. That's the Wizard of Oz. It's literally not real. Remember, they're just the ego manifested, if you want to say, United States, right? Because they're not sure, they're not law, they're not real. So it's kind of like saying they're de facto. In fact, they're the government, but in truth, they're not. It's the difference between facts and truth. So we got to make facts and truth make sense. So it's a fact that Santa Claus is real, right? But is it true? Nah. So we got to deal with the truth and wavering principle as far as shadow work and what we got to do. So kind of concluding that commerce phase and going into the international aspect, that's kind of why I'm going to make my video more so about, speak more about Kabbalah and pictures. I'm going to try to put pictures in there.
Okay.
Is the commerce side, again, is to get us to think that we are being sold. We went from being, quote unquote, sold on the stool, and, there's even white slaves, all that stuff. Everybody was being sold, on a physical level. But then they knew they had to get mental, right? They had said, the physical is good, right? The paperwork, that's fine. But we got to be the distractions up here, right? So basically, that's what happened. They attached the commerce aspect up here to where we even thought that doing business as an organization was the way, right? But you can't claim the land as just the organization under the United States, right? So a state government claims a state that states run the land, right? And then we all come together as one state, aka the United States of Morocco, right? So as far as the commerce, that's basically the human trafficking aspect, in which going into international law, we see that, again, the United Nations was simply made to decolonize and enforce treaties. So I lied earlier. It's two things they were actually made to do: decolonize and enforce treaties. Because treaties are supreme law of the land, which is another high tier measurement, right? In which energy is all energy. Even Malcolm X said, we got to go to the United Nations, right, before he died. And so he even said, he even calmed down on, he calmed down on his shadow. He seen his shadow work, seen what he had to do, said, you know what, I'm going to stop pointing the finger, right? We got to go to the United Nations. But guess what? Malcolm X was still a harvester, right? A high pinnacle person at that time, but still a harvester. When you look at the preparation of it all. And I can even go in on that, but as far as why it didn't work for him and why he got killed is because he didn't have what's called diplomatic immunities, in which only states can exercise. So the whole, how you talk to a Christian, right, who's Christian and they kind of spiritual, right, or is let's just say somebody who's strictly Christian and just don't understand nothing you're talking about. What's the magic word for a Christian? Jesus. So if you want to make all the energy and information that you give to this person, not only do you have to give it in certain pieces, but you got to use a magic word, Jesus, right? You got to make that concept make sense, because what is Jesus? He is nothing but you. He's nothing but the person who's talking to. He's nothing but who you hope was to come, and all this type of stuff. You got to just put it in a proper context, right? Now it's the people you're talking to, the situation you dealing with, etc. What is Jesus? Yeshua, shoot the breath, right? Jesus is everybody. Yeshua is everybody, right? What is also Jesus? Certain concepts in the law, right? What is Satan? Certain concepts in the law, certain concepts of yourself, right? Certain concepts are traditions, right? So we just got to know how to use the practical magic word, which is the common denominator for everybody now, which is state, right? State of mind, Jesus, heaven, Christian, all that. Is the practical terminology for all of that is state. It ain't about which religion you're from. States say, hey, you can exercise whatever religion you want. That's what you call private law. You got the freedom to do whatever you want. Religion is not the way to govern anything. That's old paradigm. States, balance of power, right? I choose you to be a president, let's just say, or the wazir, or the prime minister. You choose me to be the kazi. We work together, right? I break down my ego, you break down your ego. We gonna build together, right? So that's pretty much the integration. I didn't say nothing about that. International law, just the state is the magic word for it. Literally, state is the magic word for it. So if nothing else, you want to remember and focus on this word, state, or state, right? Your state, your mindset, and how to ground that, understand it, and govern. Now, another thing you want to understand is that, okay, well, if the United Nations were made to decolonize, remember, this is just energy, right? So let's just take the practical concept out of this, right? If this energy was made to assist us, even if you want to say this energy is bad or got some, bad aspects of this, if that's what you choose to believe, whatever, in which all around the world, of course, yeah. So, yes, it is in the United Nations, right? So, we got to look at this energy. Well, if this energy is basically assisting us, well, what is international law, man? What is this thing they're talking about? Because they say state, but let's look at this energy again, because this is the whole world. You ain't just about to give me a shoe and say I know the whole outfit. You're not about to just tell me a name and say I know you completely. Who are you, right? So what is this that we dealing with? What is the predecessors of this, right? This energy, international law itself, which is its own system of law, right? The highest system of law, is basically, I like to use the Kabbalah as an example. And I'm going to bring up more pictures when I speak up on this, because this is where kind of the get intricate and confusing a little bit if you don't have the pictures or don't know certain Hokmah or Yesod or anything like that. It can get confusing, like the lines and stuff like that. But just to stay simple, everything starts in the center, right? You got a higher self and a lower self, right? We got a mind, we got a root chakra, right? We bring babies in through the roots, right? We balance our heaven with the mind, but we got a heart, which is the center, right? Everything comes from the middle point, right? Balance of both worlds, the middle pillar. When we look at this middle concept or the heart, just using the Kabbalah, for instance, this point is called Tippereth, right? It's called Tippereth. If for those who want to kind of go on and look up more information that I have said in the past on Twitter, You can go on my Twitter page and go to my page and go to the search bar and just type in Tippereth, or just type in integrity, because Tippereth also means integrity, I-N-T, internal, right? I-N-T, cross, right? You look up the gematria of that word. It'll give you a picture. It'll give you a whole point, a crossing that basically says this is the integrating, the bending point, how both worlds come together. So all this is being said on the left-hand path. All this is being said on the right-hand path. Right? Middle point, I want to say, let's bring them together and do what we need to do. Discard what we don't. Keep what we do. Right? And out of that, I'll give you a baby. Right? A new word, a refined word, a refined energy, a new person. What person? Our youth is the future. Okay, Jesus is here to save the world. Okay, this new energy is being created. It's for the youth, right? The elderly not going to get it too much. It's going to be some of them, right? It's going to be some of us, right? The third or fourth generation is no driving part. We're the atom bombs, right? It's for the babies. It's for the youth, right? So the refined energy is basically, when it comes to youth, you're youth, but everybody, is that
we are right here with you. Yes, we're following.
You're only as old as your ability to process new information. So how can you birth new information, refine energy, if you cannot mend to new information? That's literally your ability to transmute. Your mind in its basic chakras and all that. Everybody trying to, I gotta put my arm behind my head and breathe and do like this and be in the dark 10 times and open up a chakra, like trying to do the most to explain something that can be so basic. It's just energy. It's just information. When it's information, a fact. You can analyze how you feel when somebody gives you a fact. You can tell if your chakra is closed or open if somebody says something. You can feel it. So this refined energy and our ability to process new information is literally the basic way we can say, hey, 13 colonies is United States American. I thought I was American. You know what? I'm going to still call myself American and say indigenous people need to do what we need to do. That's contradictory. And that just proves that you don't have the power in that sphere, right? Not everybody's going to get saved. Maybe you can get saved, and everybody will realize in due time. I will say this. Like I said, one of the master teachers is Dr. Deborah Blair. I shaded him, in which he said, one of his statements that you can use as a measurement for he passed. Remember, the gods is leaving out clues when they basic instruction before leaving Earth. They leaving out basic measurements before they leave this Earth. They're saying, look, Dr. Deborah Blair said it's going to be like going from kindergarten to 12th grade. What does this mean? Well, we contemplate kindergarten to 12th grade, and we contemplate the Bible that said it's coming like a thief in the night. Basically, this is about to be the quickest slap in your face. And if you don't know how to stop it, you might not be on the good end of the stick. So basically what we have here is this ability to say, hey, I might not be able to acknowledge certain thoughts, right? My moon might be Cancer and my sun might be Pisces. I might be so emotional that it might be too hard for me to, come to certain practical terms when it comes to shadow work. Okay, that's good. At least you know yourself.
Right.
But go to the depth you can as far as your own spiritual revelations and this reality. You don't want to be like the monks and say, you know what, I'm going to just focus on myself. right? Knowing that you got the same problem as everybody else, colonization, and they don't even care what your personal problems is. They coming. That means you got to balance both worlds. So that also means that so you're aware of how real you can keep, because you're only as real as you can keep it with yourself. That's one of my measurements I like to use. You know, I don't like to say this information came from me. That's my information. You know, everybody heard this from Kabbalah. You know, they hear from me. You know, that's from spirit. That's from ancestry. But
Yeah.
I like to say I coined that word for the simple fact I never heard nobody say that statement. You only as real as you can keep it with yourself, and I like to use that as an anchoring measurement as far as how people can get it. So you know how real you keep it with yourself, but if you know your Cancer moon and Sun Pisces, at least you keep yourself real enough to say, you know what, hey guys, I'm just the number 2. I'm not the number 1. I'm not Neo, right? I'm just the harvester, right? Don't count on me to be that guy. But you can count on me to not only be real, but also still assist. I bet you I can do that. Right? Be practical. And that's what, you know, looking at charts, and that's where that aspect comes into play. So everybody has their own degrees of shadow work, quote unquote, in which Brother Panic and people like myself, Capricorn, you want to take, and I'm not to toot my own horn, but again, my moon is Capricorn, which is the most practical, and my sun is Pisces, which is quote unquote spirit. So people who dominate in the most spiritual and the most practical, you want to basically use those people as the most measurements, right? Like the elderly Piscean women, or let's just say you use them as measurements as to what's to come, right? So basically one that knows themselves. We got a feminine person, we got an elderly person that knows themselves, we got somebody who's like the highest of the high here. You know, you might want to listen. Use them as a measurement. Just as everybody else in their own respects. So I say all this to say that to conclude my international law concept as well. Again, international law, right? United Nations being established to decolonize, right? They decolonized already 80 countries. So that we know we know who to go to. We know who to talk to. The thing is, do we know what to do? Can we follow the instructions? So international law, when we look at this energy, right? If we say, hey, look at the facts. We see the paperwork. This energy, this integrated international law, internal, is coming back to the most refined point of view. So this temperate point in the Kabbalah is basically means integrate, right? If you want to look at INT, or even the etymology of words, INT, ENT, right? IN composed compared to IM, EN compared to EN, right? It's a whole science. Integrity, right? Emanates energy, right?
And interdependence too.
Interdependence, right? When anything you see, a INT is talking about the most internal part. It's like some of us had heard super consciousness, consciousness, subconsciousness, interpersonal consciousness, right? Different aspects of the mind, different layers of the mind, soul, over soul, right? All this is saying is that the nameless name is basically giving you shapes, basic shapes. It's giving you a basic sentence, a basic concept. Then it's going to give you another concept, the same thing, except open. You just got to look at it right? Both ends of the same stick. You say it's the same stick, though, right? And then it's going to keep on doing that, right? And each time it's doing that, it's just a different soul, oversoul, this, that, right? We just got to say, hey, well, it started at a basic point, right? We can get this down to an atom, a singularity point. And we can also get down to this prior to that, a nothingness, right? Which we can refine that. There's a point in that, right? Control chaos, which that's not even a number. Chaos is zero. So you're talking about the tree of the dark side at this point, not even a tree of life, the tree of death, but not even in a bad aspect, just in a hidden aspect.
Right.
Different octave, a different energy, the new world order. So the INT, if you want to look at all words like that, study those words and definitions even, you'll basically see that the INT, right, internal, I am, right, or I am being the second portion of IN, right, or I, what is I? Third I. So that's just drop the N and the M. What is I? Nothing. So it's basically 1 and 0, right? So basically, when we talk about even ones and zeros, even before that, right? Zero, the tree of death. We're basically just talking about the clean slate point is what is that? Ein, the Ein point. Then you got Ein Sof, and then you got Ein Sofer, right? So the Ein, the international law is the external point of the basically third eye, basically, if you want to say that, because that's where we need to go to clean house. Where you need to go in order to clean house internally, your third eye. That's what gets you to the doorway, right? To see things in a different light. So the international law, the United Nations, if you want to say, to make things more perceptive in the spiritual sense, is pretty much like it's pretty much like, you can even relate this to mythological stories. But if you want to say set, but the good aspects of things, because again, a lot of these people, when we're talking about control chaos, what does the United Nations do? Try to control the chaos. Right? What's Moore's gonna do? We're gonna teach not only the United Nations about this, but the rest of the world. So what we gonna do? Do everything that what I just said plus double. So to clean house, right? We gotta basically look at everything and learn how to measure that first, right? You gotta say, man, I know how to count. I know my lower self, but I need my lower self to mimic my higher self so I can see, right? I just gotta put this mirror like this so I can see up here, right? You're just trying to adjust the mirror in a practical sense. Once you get that and measure that in the highest tier, you say, okay, now it's only 12 inches in a room. It's not gonna get no more than this. So what can I do with this? And nobody about to trick me into saying, now we just got to focus on 13th dimension or 13 inches for a foot now. Nah, you ain't about to come in with no space cadet stuff, trying to reinvent the wheel. Ain't no need to reinvent the wheel. We just trying to. That's the whole reason why everybody's saying the same thing, because there's no, if you catch anybody trying to basically start off with new processes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They just trying to exercise an old energy, and they're gonna get called out.
A new spin. That's the same.
Yeah. So you can see basically the world's measure, the split, 3D and 5D, if you want to say. For those who try to bring it together, just 3D and 5D,
I mean, that's why we've seen in over the decades, like this push of independence, like being the highest form of maturation, like in culture. And so I've always said that it's interdependence that's the highest form of maturation. Not being able to just rely on yourself or depend on yourself, but to be able to work with others, to be integrated, to have unity. And that's the highest form of maturation. So I see why it's pushed in the culture, like, independent women, independent men, because there we're separated. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, now you got everybody arguing over basic stuff. Basic
mm-hmm.
stuff. 50, let's go 50-50 on rent. Who should go 50-50 on rent? We're talking about
Mm-hmm.
a mindset that the colonizer will argue over, not sovereigns of the land. We got to get out of that frequency first. To say, what are you doing arguing over rent when you know this is your land, you should control it, right? People should be paying rent as Americans to the Moroccan government. So what are you talking about rent? Like, even in the UNDRIP, it says that
that's a
you
great
don't have
point.
to pay rent. But in the UNDRIP, it says only states can enforce this. So what do we got to do? We got to say, hey, well, if this is our landmass, we got to follow international law, right? States, right? Take that, and this is another thing, just to kind of tell you how easy it is to step inside your place, right? When I say your home is done, not only is it done, but it is furnished. Not only is it furnished, but it just got washed by Stanley Steamer yesterday. Not only that, but it smells good. Not only that, and you could add on to it. So basically, what I'm trying to say all that is to say, in the practical sense, when I say there's no need to reinvent the wheel, when the Bible says make them in our image, right? When the United States basically is the custodians, clean house, kept in order, it's basically saying that since they're an organization, right, a corporation and not the actual government, since it's the United States and not the United States of America, and they're pretending to be the truth, guess what we got to do to step into our truth? Look at everything they did. They got laws, right? You don't need to write them. Just look over, take that, copy, paste, make it in our image, literally, and say, hey, instead of United States, this is our state, Blue State Republic. Instead of XYZ, it's that. Edit the document. It's practically done. Our job is done. This war to fight is not our fight. It's not. It's not. The United Nations, to decolonize, like, we don't have the army. We don't have the money, the currency, the all that. Right? Colonized people don't have that. Right? Anybody who can look at case studies, and I can tell the practical Capricorn energy kind of coming out a little bit more. But anybody who wants to understand how colonized people can basically come up on top, can look at around the world how the other 80 countries, right, case studies, and how they did, right? And so just to bring more information, because I know a lot of people are not going to do that, is to say, okay, well, since they didn't have military, we don't have military, no currency, nothing we're supposed to have. The United States got it, right? And a lot of people think you need that first. You need the military first. You need everybody in the world to agree with what we're saying first before we do anything, right? It's not the case. It's only going to be a selected few, 144,000 people. Like Ali said, you count it on one hand. Basically, it's only going to be a selected few that basically is going to say that when it comes to United Nations, they have several strategies on how to assist the colonized people in getting everything that is there. So the United States is, they have everything that's on in this state, and we claim the entire state. It's no longer theirs. It's ours. That's not their system. It's our system. Thank you for keeping it up tight. Thank you for keeping my house clean. I was sleeping. I was hiding a bit, right?
Right.
So
I'll take it from here.
Yeah, I'll take it from here. Get the fuck out. Right? Excuse my language. So when it comes to basically not reinventing the wheel, making everything in our image, taking the stress off your shoulders, right?
Yeah.
Stop burning up brain cells, right? Realizing that the journey is the destination. It's basically to understand that the
hardest thing that you probably have to do is focus on yourself and understand that your confidence, you can know who you are all day. I can say these words all day, but faith without works is dead. Melanin without the proper act, you can melanin all day. If you eat messed up, your melanin gonna boil like the next person you was trying to serve. You know what I'm saying? So we can talk about internal all day. Internal has to be holistic. If internal doesn't have the proper action on the external, remember the soul is external as well. It's not just internal. So remember, you are me. I'm not just focused on my own personal revelations. Your personal revelations, we're all having the same dream. You know, everybody's talking about, oh, I dreamed about this goddess. I dreamed about flying cars. I dreamed about, there's only so many things to think about in the human mind, in the octave. We all have pretty much the same fucking dream. Excuse my language. But and again, Brother Penny brought me to this realization. And I sat there and thought about it. And, I'm going to take certain measurements. I'm going to jot it down. I'm going to steal that because that's a measurement. It ain't just a word, it's a measurement. You're going to come around to the same picture. So, and even Brother Penny, if you watch his videos, you can hear him come around to it, but it comes down again to being holistic internal. So even your internal has a physical, and that physical is not necessarily this outer world, but practical, the most practical, in which you have Capricorn, which is the most practical. And then you have the practical sign before that, and you got the Taurus being the first practical, or the first grounded, I should say. Even the Aries can be considered the first practical. The Aries is the first practical. So you can look at it that way, or you can look at pretty much Taurus is the first practical, Aries is hydrogen, right? Or the fire, right? The hydrogen is the first element in a periodic in the chart, in a periodic chart. If you look at hydrogen, you see fire has a lot to do with hydrogen. Hydrogen also has a grounded state. So if you look at an atom and compare this, right, H2O, right, all this type of stuff, you can kind of use hydrogen to say, this represents Aries. Well, what Aries? We're like hydrogen, right? Then you go down to the Taurus, you say, hey, if Aries is like the number one, and Taurus is like number two, then Taurus is like the most practical, the first practical, right? While the Capricorn is like the last practical, Father Time, the elder. And that's why I got a lot in me, because I have Pisces and Capricorn. So I'm like, a lot of people call me, I always get old stuff. I got an old aura. I'm not, but it's telling,
Yeah.
I can toot my horn about all these types of past life realizations, all this types of stuff, but that means nothing, absolutely nothing. It means so much of nothing that I won't talk about it. And that's what a lot of us in spirituality got to come to the terms that I believe in some of my videos, because a lot of these spiritual videos, it's cool to talk about the Titans and the Giants. And, a lot of this stuff, pyramids, with at a point you realize that it's an octave that you're going to come across there. You just being egotistical. Yeah, you use it as confidence from one point to help you realize who you are. And then it comes to the point that some people are making a living and got to depend on this knowledge. Yeah, there's certain people in that world that made the best of that world, right? There's some people like Bobby Hemming, made the best of that world, and everybody tried to do what he tried to do, right? You heard Bobby Hemming's stories. Some of them sound illogical, right? But not everybody can do that, and it's a very small window, for the people who can exercise that reality on this plane. And that's what everybody has to understand, that not everybody is going to do that. And that's what a lot of us got caught up in. You know, just watching Bobby Hemming videos, just hoping that our day comes.
Right.
You know, I mean, some of us may have, and some of us some of y'all who may have seen my video before. I deleted one of my realizations when, you know, was very similar to Bobby's Hemmings, you know, in which that literally there were, I won't go into it right now, but I'll say this type of information I will put in a book under another name, because I don't care I'm not big on ego. Like, that's another thing about Capricorn. We don't care about big enough ego. I don't want to toot my own horn. Actually, when people give me compliments, I tend to kind of like, yeah, I hear you. I don't want to, because I know internally what I'm trying to do. You know, like, yeah, I take it because I need that confidence. You ain't gonna get me. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're talking about, own ego. So, you know, basically, we gotta realize the measurements, not only ourselves, but in our world, and it's time to actually look at it and say, yes, you can look at what you're supposed to measure. Yes, you can. Like, I don't care who you are. Literally, right now, I don't care if you don't know who Brother Panic or Bobby Hemming is. Whoever you look up to, measure that, whatever calling you think you should have, whatever purpose, and measure what you want to face, what you have been facing, compared to what you need to face. Because between those worlds is what's going to give you that baby, that spiritual baby that can allow you to bring the confidence, the activity, right, to birth.
I want you to say that one more time. Say it one more time.
Yeah, it's you know, when it comes down to
what you want us to measure.
Yeah. Well, to measure, you got to measure the higher self and the lower self, right? All you got is your word and your ball, quote unquote. What is that? Your higher self and your lower self. That's all that is. All you got is your mind and your physical. So you can measure the external and the internal. How can you measure the external? It's fairly easy to measure that. You know, it's a lot of complaints. It's a lot of pointing fingers. It's easy to point the finger. It's easy to measure the external. It's harder to measure the internal. A lot of us don't pay attention to that. So to measure everything properly, you got to measure the external by saying, take what you've been doing, plus take what the new information on the external that's allowing you to look internal, right? So you say, okay, U.S. is the 13 colonies of the United States of America. I've been calling myself American, right? So you want to put your children in school, right? You want a good job, right? You might be struggling right now, right? But the thing is, and that's another story in which it's basically the same thing, but I'll make a video. I'll explain that in my video, kind of take it to the other tier as far as how we can work in this reality much further. As far as commercial, like balancing both worlds in a practical sense. I'll speak on that in my video, but back to the point though, as far as measuring, you got to take everything you've been new, right, and then take that little bit, that new information that's allowing you to look internal, because it's only going to be a little bit of information, right? You can't retain everything overnight, right? So it's only going to be 2 sentences, probably 3 sentences that you're going to remember, but not you. But I talked to you about this. So it's, you know, for different people, it's a lot of people, it's for a first time. So you might only hear 1 sentence, but take that little info energy, right? Internalize it. Take that electron, right? You know how electrons go from the physical to the spiritual. Take that electron, take that light, say, hey, you know, this room ain't dark no more. You know, you got a little light.
We got a little bit of light coming through,
right. You know what I'm saying? You're just going to keep coming back until you realize that you really don't need that light anymore. Your spiritual eyes, that light. So you can just walk in a room and be like, man, this is right here. This is right. Before you even walk out, you know it's dark. You know what to do. You know what it is. You know where it's at. Without you looking, you go in there, pick what's out. Didn't even turn the light on. But the light is on. Why? Because you know. That's the light. You know. You don't believe. You know. The physical light ain't it. knowledge, the knowledge of the heart, right? You got to know in your mind. You can point it out externally. Yeah, this is that, right? We indigenous, yeah. We not Americans though. Okay. So when you start to read things tomorrow, right? Start to hear the seer tears maybe, or whoever. We the ancient Americans. Remember, this is energy coming back to itself. Just don't so you learn. Repeat itself, right? You always got the ability, So you say, hold on, hey, the unwavering principle is this. So you're gonna edge at it day by day, as long as it's conscious of it, right? You edge at it day by day, and that's the literal work. Because once you had enough, right, you can bring down even the Kundalini, right? Once you had enough, to bring the Kundalini fire. What is fire? Some say sex, some say passion, right? So you gotta have nothing to do with sex. But so what is sex? Creation. What is passion? Your activeness to even start to get up and do something. Right? You gotta have a passion to even have sex. Right? You're just talking about different concepts of the same word. Each word has its own word. What is a word? A word. So that's all
we
we're
were
doing.
talking about that yesterday.
Yeah, right. So it's just gonna continue to get more refined each and every time. So basically, the more you keep edging at it and realizing that at least one word, if nothing else, realize that in America it's 13 colonies. And if you say America, you simply say call yourself colonist. I'm a colonist Indian. I'm a Moorish colonist. Say certain stuff that's gonna agitate your mind. Remember, you doing shadow work, right? You gotta say stuff that like, I'm only hurting myself, quote unquote, to wake up this latent nerve. It's gonna take a shot. I gotta be the shot to produce that in myself. I gotta wake myself up. I gotta right to myself. Right? Consciousness is hiding itself from itself. And what's gonna wake you up? Electrons, electricity. Right?
Yeah.
So even if you want to take it down to the basic stuff, if you're a slow learner, go somewhere where you're gonna be in a high field and study, even if you got 30 minutes to study. Let the energy, the info energy, penetrate literally your cells that much more. It's kind of like saying reading everything on paper opposed to reading everything on a screen each and every time you want to learn something. It's probably better on paper as long as you got the information, because the light from the energy, it's going to do something. It's going to affect you. Yeah, you might be getting a certain good thing out of this, but if you're dealing with something natural, you can deal with a cleaner slate, for a longer period of time, penetrate it for, to a different degree. If you want to say when it comes to internally, not a piece of paper can't penetrate a piece of paper. You poke it with internally. I mean, you want to pierce the veil in yourself. That's what I'm saying. So, you want to measure the external. Take that little grain of salt, internal. Repeat that process. Repetition is key. Repeat that process. Repeat whatever makes sense. Repeat it. Repeat it. United Nations is made to decolonize. Repeat it. Repeat it. Repeat it. Treaties, the supreme law of the land. Only states can enforce that. Repeat it. Repeat it. States can't nobody do nothing if they don't have a state. What is a state? A government. Repeat it. Repeat it. Repeat it. That, everybody telling you, oh, we need this. We need this. That don't sound like a government to me. Everybody else around the world got governments, right? The Indians get land, right? A lot of people saying, hey, we need to be like the Indians. Nah, no, we don't. Because what happened to the Indians? They made deals with the French, right? They were forced to make deals. They weren't even a government, and they made treaties. How can you that's like me running down on a homeless man right now saying, you know what? I'm about to take over your block. You don't know your bloodline or whatever, nothing like that. Who you attached to? But you're gonna make this deal, and it's gonna be that. And that homeless man be like, you know what? Okay. So then when he allowed you to do your space, we're gonna start with this. Come in, and I'm gonna start doing this. I'm gonna start with your homeless people. We're gonna clean y'all up. The dirty people, the dirty boys, or whatever. Clean y'all up. We need people that's really gonna be gullible. Let's put it like that. Right, really gonna be on our side, right? We'll clean y'all up, put y'all this way, give y'all this support, right? Work together. That way, your brother, you can really get him. Because, hey, didn't he kick you out? Didn't he cause you homeless? Yeah, he did. But even though I was the one that caused him, but yeah, he did. That's why I'm gonna help you out, because I don't even want to face my own shadow work. Yeah, he did. I'm gonna help you out. That's what's going on. Indians was in teepees, making treaty deals. Teepees? Teepees. Moorish architecture all the world that we dealing with. A history of people that we want to claim title of that mainly revolve around teepees. We gotta stop. We gotta stop. We gotta stop. What? Again, they made treaties, quote unquote, which is really arbitrational treaties and international law. It's called arbitrational treaties. They're forced to do this, not a lawful treaty. They did treaty. They made it treaties with the United States and said basically, as long as the United States said, as long as y'all do what we do to help us out, we'll give you reservations. We'll make you better than the black people. We'll give you things that the black people wish they had, quote unquote, the black people, right? Land, we'll make it easy for you to get land. We'll even get you casinos, everything, right? So a little bit of everything, because they knew they lost knowledge of themselves. They knew that they teamed up with Moors who were dirty. Really, the Indians were a little bit of everybody. And that's how the energy was. It's just a little bit of everybody. It's like a mid-hate. It's not really the true thing, right? It give you a little bit of something, but not really the true thing. Yeah, your ego can give you some pride. It's gonna give you some joy. It's gonna give you some factual things. It's gonna give you some truthful things. They like to run from it, right? So it's kind of like looking at everything, even energy itself. Whatever bad energy you had, think about it. You want to look at yourself as God, why would you put it here? Well, even if you don't look at yourself, why would God put it here? It's a good and bad side too. We just can't victimize ourselves with everything. You look at the bad side on it. So that's basically when it comes down to international law. I kind of went through it fast, and there's still a lot that I didn't share because I really want to expound on the Bible. Because again, I want to utilize this information, this time that I know not many people can expound on, as something that, because I can't do it. I heard Brother Panic say he's looking for somebody, one or two people, to basically do what he's doing because his time is up. He's that elderly person in the spiritual community saying, yeah, somebody else got to do this, just like Bobby Hemming did, right? And I sat there and thought about it, knowing damn well, I'm like, you know what? My first answer is, I'm not going to do that. I could easily and be all for entertainment, but I would rather be on a higher practical and even spiritual pinnacle as far as this world, and I don't want to say I'm above anybody or anything like that. I'm just talking about refined energy, who's here to play the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what it takes to have a team. All this, all that. But I can't run a government by myself. As far as when I came across that energy or that information on Brother Pennick's website or video, I use it as a measure, right? What is this saying? By the time in the spiritual community is passing the baton, right? Bringing in a new world, or trying to bring somebody to bring in a new world. So what is this saying? Basically, everything that I'm saying in a practical and spiritual concept in its highest degree, because we can talk about any type of mythology all day. We want to go all day long. All day. I'm all for that. But not if it's not going to do it in a practical sense that equates with that. The United States is literally, you want to see as a demon, the biggest demon, whatever. That's how we got to look at it. There's nobody who's ready to fight that with their own fist, regardless if it's strong or not, knowing that it ain't even real. It's not even real. You know, it's not even real. Like I don't. That's the reason why I deleted my video. You know, I don't want to boost the ego, not even my own. I don't even want to talk about that stuff anymore unless it's, you know, like I said, I might mess around and come out with several books. People thought it was from some white, you know what I mean? But I don't want to do it for the ego. I just need to do it for the proper concept of being a therapy in the practical sense of the spirit and the physical human. Because I'm the atom bomb. I'm not that. I don't have that personality that you can really confide in. I'm not really. I'm kind of like I'm in and I'm out. You know, if that says anything, basically. And I put it like this: I would have died early had I not come across certain concepts that would save me, because partially my spirit is just that. It's here to be in and out. I'm not confined. It's like an atom. You know, believe it or not, I have a quick temper. All of this is basically say that I have the frequency, the attribute of a number one, right? The first and the last type of thing, the Joker type of thing. So I'm a good person to know how to pass the ball to somebody else who can take on that light more so. I'm a good encourager, motivator, inspirer. But I take away those abilities to do that if I see that I'm talking to people that don't want to be practical. Because I don't want to just put layers on people of confidence and just boost up egos. Yeah.
Brother, you went in tonight. Like, you definitely went in tonight, and it was such a treat. Do we have anything left? Any other questions? I don't think so. So, was there anything that you wanted to conclude? Because we've spent about 2 hours and some change.
Oh.
And it was it was like the time just went by so fast, but it was so profound.
Okay.
And like you said, planting those seeds, you know, for people to be willing and driven and have the passion to take their rightful position on the throne. And for those who watched the video, you know, I believe that most people were able to grasp a lot of the information. And like you said, if it was just a small seed of light, just take that and continue to build and expand on that. But more so do the shadow work, like you were saying, do the shadow work. Look at the things that it's hard to face when it comes to us considering yourself as an American, the origins of the country, where we are, and being able to establish the statehood, and having the courage to do so. And like you said, if you feel you're not the person to take on that role, to be able to facilitate it to someone that you know is able to do that. So I want everyone to look at Brother Occult's information. Make sure that you take that down. Reach out to him to learn more about assisting in forming a Moorish statehood and actually forming one yourself if you feel prompted to do so. So take the information as well as tap in and get his wellness products, which again is the colloidal silver and the colloidal copper. Go to his YouTube page. We want to make sure that is there as well. As you guys can all see tonight, that he is led by spirit. We talked about that yesterday. Remember, I was saying to you, like, that spirit was just gonna lead you to present your offerings of knowledge tonight, and it was such a blessing for all of us. And we just want to thank you, humbly thank you, for coming on tonight
Thank you.
with that.
And you know, it's random, but I thought about this about 2 minutes ago. The way I see things is a little weird, but how I'm about to say it might not make sense like that. But then I want to talk to you personally sometime soon more on this. But
Okay.
definitely probably won't make sense. But you personally, because like I said, spirit, this is spirit leading in this. Remember, this is nobody's really on this. And being that you know, this spirit is calling to make this avenue possible. It's the number one saying that this is the number two. And basically, if I got the thought earlier, it's random, but you remind me of some soil and grass. I don't know why, but it makes sense to me.
I received that in its highest form. Ashe.
I'm gonna expound on that later on. I won't do it now, but and I'll conclude with this. I had this thing going on to where I tested my intuition, and I created certain games for myself. And I'm good with discernment. I'm a Capricorn at heart. That's truly who I am. Sun sign Pisces. Truly a Capricorn.
Yeah.
So discernment, I'm good at. And so I said, I'm not too good with zodiacs, but I'm gonna just guess what people are without even knowing anything, just kind of based off a certain clue, And I got good at it. After the first 8 tries, I was right, and I'm like, wow, like this is crazy. So when I say you remind me of some grass and some soil, I'm saying that based off of my own internal game that I made of myself. So that's why I don't expect anybody to really get it yet, but I'm gonna tell you more about it later. But yeah, just as Sister Samantha said, if anybody want to reach out to me and even learn how to establish a more state for themselves, or let's say if you're not on this landmass and you wish to establish a state, there's Moors in Canada. There's Moors in Puerto Rico looking to establish theirs, even in Ukraine. Or not Ukraine. Where they at? United Kingdom. So it's Moors all over again. It's looking to teach the rest of the world, and it all starts from this landmass. And even the wars all over. It starts with the elderly that's coming back, the ancient ancestors, right? That we all know. So I just like to conclude by saying, if you like to reach out to me, feel free to contact, again, my personal pages, which is Occult Bay on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, as well as my YouTube channel. If you'd like to check out more on law, there's not too much on spirituality or anything like that anymore, but I'm going to start back up a little bit for the sake of cultural practices. But if you'd like to check out that, you can. But more so, what I have been promoting more than anything else is Moorish Statehood and its pages. So if you'd like to check out the Moorish State page for Meru State Republic, and yes, Meru, MERU, as in Mount Meru, that's its own thing. I made a video of why we chose that name. It's very spiritual. Actually, Meru means basically state. If you feel free to reach out to that on Instagram or Twitter, social media, even the email. Again, my email is wazir, WAZIR, MSR @gmail.com. And feel free to ask me any questions. Don't be shy thinking anything is unprofessional. I understand, completely. As long as you're sincere and willing to get active, please know what they call what they call it, not bots, trolls. Yeah,
The
please no
troll.
trolls. Some people try to get in, get your number, only to find out that they really want to argue. It's like it's really no time for all that.
And what's your YouTube again, Brother Occult? Because someone's asking in the chat.
It said Grandpa Sam.
Like your grandpa Sam.
It said Grandpa Sam. I get what you mean by that. You must have said that when I said the 1 and 2 concept. But that's funny. But the YouTube, my personal YouTube is Spirit Alchemy channel.
Spirit Alchemy channel.
Yeah, the Spirit Alchemy channel.
Are you gonna put that in the bottom? Just type it as well, just in case, so they have the correct spelling of it. Because I know that you have a couple YouTube channels. Is it?
Well, I have my personal channel, and then there's the state page, the state channel, which is Marine State Republic.
Okay.
Yes. And also the page that I'm actually getting live from is my business page, where you can read more on colloidal silver and colloidal copper, which is known to cure over 650 diseases and complications. So this is all, and kind of just to speak on that very, very briefly. Yeah. Again, I'm here.
It helps me when I'm flying too. It helps me while I'm on those airplanes all the time. The colloidal silver and the colloidal copper that you sent me. My nostrils, my throat, spray it around, clear out that aura in my electromagnetic field, honey. But go ahead.
I'm gonna send you some more. Some more. Yeah. For just for the love. As far as the colloidal silver and colloidal copper. It's and why I named it A New Life. Again, I'm the archetype, like a 1. And a new means atom, basically. So when we talk about these products, it's very simple, and they cover a broad range of things. So again, these products can actually ail you in a lot of ways, ways that you might not even be aware of. So I encourage you to look through this business page. You can reach out to me on any platform and ask for some. It doesn't have to be strictly the business page, or if you have my number or whatever. So yeah, I think that's enough shout outs. But nonetheless, I more so encourage anybody to contact and look up the Morris State, because that's what I'm on her to do. Colloidal silver is pretty much, that's what's going to pop off after the states. That's going to be one of the first businesses, type of thing.
Yeah.
But statehood is my heart.
It definitely is. Indeed, it is. Can you put all of your? Listen, everybody wants all of your information. Just put it in the comments down there, everything where they can find you, whether it's the email, because I think you mentioned the email earlier. Put your email address, the YouTube where you put your different teachings on there, because I think that you have a YouTube for that as well. There we go. Anything that you want the viewers to have access to. And I want to thank you all as well for joining us tonight, because you could have been anywhere doing anything and you were here partaking and providing such high vibrational energy for this offering of knowledge from our brother tonight, because he is a new Baba, and he took time away from his family to come and give us this prolific teaching and offering from his heart, and we just receive it. And we're so thankful and gracious for that, Brother Occult. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And I appreciate y'all for tuning in. And again, feel free to hit me up.
So we're gonna have you back, of course. We're gonna talk after this So we're going to talk a little bit and try to form some stuff down the line. But thank you again, and thank you everybody for viewing. Everyone have a blessed night.
All right. Peace and love, y'all.
Now here go Auntie Sam not knowing how to turn this thing off. Let me see. Okay, I want to make sure everybody gets the information before I go off of it. So we have all the email address. This is his business page, which is A New Life 37 with the underscore. And then of course you can find him at Akil Zeph Bay as well. So it is on one of the pieces of promotion content that I put on both of the pages. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy tonight, Wednesday, your midday knowledge and uplifting, encouraging energy. Remember, we work together in unity, and we're just going to continue to do that. All right. So you guys have a wonderful night.